All right, now let's build a bookshelf. Oh, but before we do, I want to show you one more tool, which is very handy for woodworking. That's this tape measure tool. This tool will allow you to click on a spot, click on a second spot, and find the measure of that distance. That's 115 centimeters. If we click here and go down, that's 31 centimeters. I can even click on diagonals and get the measure of a diagonal here. About 86.3 centimeters. Notice that tilde there. That's because we had our measurement system locked to 1/10 of a centimeter as the smallest amount. So it's not quite 86.3 centimeters, but it's not 86.2 either. It's somewhere in between. By setting the measurement scale to a finer granularity, I can find out exactly what that is, but in this case, we don't really need to. Okay, so let's get rid of these items, and I'm going to select the entire staircase to get rid of it. Now notice I dragged all the way around it from the upper left corner, and that selected the whole thing. If I drag from the upper left and I don't include the whole thing, all I get is what's entirely inside my rectangle, which was these 4 vertices, or these 4 edges, excuse me, not vertices. Everything else did not get included because it was not entirely within my rectangle. If I choose this face, but not the rest of it, I get what's inside my rectangle when I drag from the upper left. If that's not what I want, if I just want everything that was touching what I selected, then I need to drag from the lower right. When I drag this direction, I automatically get everything that was touching my selection. So here, I can select everything. Oh, I missed this edge over here. Notice that one's still black. It's not blue because it wasn't touching, and there's a couple edges up here. But those are the 2 different selection styles. Up from the lower right gives you everything that it touches. Down from the upper left gives you everything that's totally enclosed. So in this case, I want to get rid of the entire staircase. So there we go. Now, let's go back and draw our rectangle. This time I'm not going to worry about clicking that. I'm just going to start with the rectangle tool. I would like to draw a 5 centimeter by, no, actually, our boards are 1 centimeter wide by 100 centimeters deep board. Now, how can I do that? I don't have any measure of scale out here in the SketchUp window. But if you look closely in the lower right corner there, you'll see, and I'm going to hit escape so we can go down here without messing things up, you'll see a dimensions box. And as I draw things, if you keep your eye on that dimensions box, you'll see it automatically update the dimensions so I can see what I'm drawing. And a handy shortcut is that I can actually type directly into that box while I'm still out here in the middle of the field with the mouse. I've started a rectangle, and I have a chance now to just type the dimensions. So I want 1 centimeter, comma, 100 centimeters. And there it is. I hit return and it's automatically drawn it for me. But at this zoom level, I can't even see that that's a centimeter wide. So we'll need to zoom in a bit. I'll use my scroll wheel and then pull in. And now we can see there's my 1 centimeter by 100 centimeters. Actually, that's probably not going to work very well for us. Let's make that 1 by 50 instead. So let's select that. I'll go from the lower right this time. Let's draw that again. Click, and then I'll type 1, 50. And that's a bit better. And now I can do the same thing with a push-pull. So if I go down here to click it and pull it up, I can tell it exactly how high I want that to be. Maybe I want this one to be 70 centimeters tall. And now I have my board. Perfectly positioned, perfectly dimensioned. We can check with the tape measure. From this corner to this corner is exactly 50. From this corner to the top, exactly 70. We'll have to zoom in and get the side measurement here. Exactly 1 centimeter deep. So well, let's get rid of that guide. Very handy to be able to type in the measurements exactly. Now I'd like to duplicate this so I have another side to the bookshelf. So we will move that over a bit, and I'm going to come down here to this tool. Four-headed arrow is the move and copy tool. If I choose this, and I can move it, but right now it's going to select, as it says, it's going to select that face, which if I grab this and move it, that's not what we really want. That's going to mess up our board. So we'll undo that with a Command Z. What I need to do before I select it is I need to group the entire thing so that all of the faces and the vertices and the edges here are treated as one unit. And I need to make sure I get the entire thing there. So here I can then right-click this and choose Make Group. And that's going to turn this into one unit that I can then grab and move around as a single board, which is more like what we want to treat it as. If I hold down the Alt key once, I'll just tap that one time, notice that little plus that got added to my cursor. This is now going to duplicate when I click and drag. And if I drag out parallel to the red axis, it'll keep it as close, it'll keep it locked onto that if I stay close to parallel to the red axis. Again, if you look down in the lower right corner, you can see the dimension is being updated as we type. So I can type in right now 50 and it will be perfectly spaced to 50. But if I take my tape measure and I check this corner, it's this corner to this outside corner that's 50 because I dragged from that face. Remember, I clicked this face here and dragged, and that means that this face here is at that measure point that I typed in. So I actually need this to be at 51. So let's move it again. Move it on this axis, and then we'll type 1 centimeter. And if we go back and measure now from this inside to this inside, we have an exact 50 centimeters. Perfect. Now let's put in some shelves. I'm going to draw the shelves up on the side, just like we did with that third stair. And this is going to be 50 by 1. I'm just typing that in. And then we need to pull that out. And notice it snapped it to, as soon as I got close to that edge, it snapped it to that face. I could keep going, but that's not really what we want. I could make it too short. That's not what we want either. SketchUp makes it very easy to make it exact by snapping it based on what it thinks we wanted. And now that's a perfect match. It's exactly right. So let's copy that one again. Choose the Move tool. Oh, now we've got to group that one. Now here's a second way. This is going to be difficult to group with its touching these other boards that we've already got in there. So here's a second way to select things. If I click once, I'll get the face. If I click twice, I get the face and the edges that are on its edges. If I click 3 times, I get the entire object that's attached. So now I can group that. And now I can choose my Copy Move tool, hit the Alt key once, and I can drag that one straight up to the top. Whoop. And since I dragged it from the top face straight up to the very top, it aligned with the edge of the boards, and everything is perfectly aligned there. And I have a chance here when I do that. I have a chance, if I don't do anything else, to make more automatically. This is a special tool built into SketchUp that doesn't tell you about, but it's really, really handy. So if we click here, Alt, drag this one up to the top, make sure it matches exactly where we want. And then before we do anything else, look down in that measurement box. I'm going to type in a / whoop, harg. I didn't type what I wanted. Alt, Alt, drag up, exact. Now I'm going to type in a /4, which is going to tell SketchUp, duplicate this 4 times in between and make them all even. So now I have 4 of those evenly spaced, perfectly between. So we can check these measurements. That's about 16.2. This one's about 16.3. 16.3. So these are all within 1/10 of a centimeter of each other. And we have our bookshelf.